when it comes to setting freelance payment terms, it's really important you take control of the situation. What I often see too many early stage freelancers do, and I was guilty of myself when I first started freelancing, is almost asking the client what payment terms would they want, what would they prefer, and how would they like to do it, and you're almost using that as part of the negotiation. And it comes from a position of not necessarily desperation, but you're kind of so keen to get the work that you'll do whatever it takes, and you sort of feel that could play a part in the negotiations and help a deal get through because you can give them the payment terms that the client wants. Now, that's just completely wrong. So 9 times out of 10, the client actually wants you to take the lead and just tell you what those payment terms are. So they don't need you to kind of ask them and request and say, like, what would you prefer, and give some options. They just say, what are your payment terms, and just tell the client. You say, this is what we do, this is how we operate. You share that with the client. If there's someone in their accounts team you need to pass that on to, you just give that information. It's included in your agreement, detailed on the invoice. It's very clear, very straightforward. The clients just want to know. It's incredibly rare that anyone has any issues with your payment terms and request something different. Some large organizations may have certain policies where they pay suppliers, depending on the size of business you work with, which is a slightly different situation. But when we're talking about predominantly small businesses, SMEs, almost certainly they will just agree to whatever payment terms you operate on. Now, think about this for a moment. If they don't, and if they start to ask multiple questions and they say, I want to tweak this, I want to change that, you've got to start to question. That could be a potential red flag for a new client relationship. Why do they want to put the payment terms presumably in their favor in terms of paying over a longer period of time, or structured payments where you get less money up front and all these sorts of things? Now, it may be perfectly legitimate, but I would be certainly thinking, this is a bit concerning here. Like, maybe they won't pay on time, or the value of the relationship isn't as good as I would like it to be with the type of clients I want to work with. So that's a little bit of a sort of an aside. But if people don't, or if they sort of don't adhere to or have questions about the payment terms you put out, that's a bit of a red flag in my view. Now, going back to setting the payment terms themselves. So we've now established you control and you set the payment terms. It's your business, your freelance operation. This is how you want to do it. Now, in terms of what those payment terms can be, it's not for me to tell you. You need to obviously create whatever you are happy with. However, what I would strongly advise is, particularly for new clients, is you are getting payment in advance of delivery of your work. Depends on what your service and what your offer is, but I would always get some money down. And for me, obviously, you may have agreements where you sign an agreement with a client and that kind of triggers the project. It's actually the money in the bank that should trigger a new project from a client with you. So, you could, and perfectly reasonable, to ask for full payment in advance of the service you're delivering. If it's a monthly service, you maybe ask for payment in advance for the month, and then you complete the service, etc., etc. Now, if you're creating an asset, let's say, for example, you're creating a website for a client, so you're either a web designer, web developer. Now, you may be able to do stage payments. So you may take a deposit for the work, and then you give them a staging link so they can review the site, and then on payment, you can launch the site. So you have a little bit of control with new clients there because you own the asset, and you can only release that once you receive payment. It's when you maybe have a service which is less tangible from a sort of product or asset perspective, that once you've done that and then you're chasing, the work has been done, and it's very difficult for you to have any leverage in terms of getting payment if you do come across any issues. Whereas obviously if you get paid in advance, there are none of these issues. There's no headaches, there's no concerns. And of course, as a freelancer, it's good for cash flow. You're getting money in advance, and you can plan and you can do your cash flow forecast and everything based on that fact. Now, maybe for some longer term clients, and if you're doing repeat projects, that you can be a bit more flexible. You may take some payment in advance and then some on completion, particularly if you've got a very good track record and a long-term relationship with a client. And there's many situations I've set that up. But for any new clients, regardless of what they say, with all the best will in the world, we trust what people will say, and we hope that's the case. But in reality, sometimes, particularly if they're sort of saying, oh, no, we always pay on time and everything, they're probably the ones that may not actually do so. So you're going to want to make sure you get some payment in advance. So this is a really important area because it can actually have massive impact on your business. Obviously, if you're chasing payments, it takes time, it's stressful, it's frustrating. Of course, depending on your situation, the cash flow impact could be considerable for your life and your business. Set the payment terms, take control of it, and make sure for all new clients you're getting paid in advance of delivery of your service.